What's happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Park Lane Podcast with myself, Luke. I'm joined, as always, by Wes and Dave. But making, kind of a debut on this channel then, but coming back, the OG of the early days of Rivalry Aside TV, joined by Ben. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. A lot better after one more to go for us, but yeah, it's good to be back on, mate. It's been a while. Got to set it all up again, but here we are.
So we'll let Spurs will let Liverpool win the league then? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, do what you want, lads.
I think Spurs just letting everyone get 3 points this year, aren't we? That's pretty much our game.
Exactly. They're letting everyone win this season. So if you're new to the channel, don't forget to click subscribe. Don't forget to like the video either. And if you're listening on any podcast platform as well, don't forget to share, follow, like, all the rest of it, all that good stuff. Dave, how are you this week, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. It's good to be back. It's been a while. I'm upset with the wheel, but we'll come on to that.
Wes, how are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Obviously, had a couple of weeks off being at the Spurs Southampton game, and then obviously it's been half term, so I've had a lot going on there over the last couple of weeks with football camps, etc. So, but no, good to be back. And yeah, Spurs haven't ruined a weekend, which is quite nice, but they've got the opportunity to ruin a week instead. So yeah, I'm sure we'll get into it all. But yeah, good to be back.
No, definitely. I mean, decent week last week, but about to ruin the entire week on a Monday, which is never ideal, to be honest. But yeah, let's apologies to anybody that was hoping we were on last week. I was away, Dave was off, no one was here, so we just sacked it off completely. But we are now back to the end of the season. Jay's in the comments and has said, "Good evening, come on, you Spurs. Never did I think Spurs would make it to a semi-final. Thought it got scary towards the end." So it's a good place to start, to be honest, lads. Let's get cracking and talk about quarter-final, second leg of the Europa League against Frankfurt away. Spurs, for once in their entire existence, kept a clean sheet, which is unbelievable in itself. But secondly, we were under the cosh a little bit during the 1-0 away win against Frankfurt. But look, Wes, we're through to a semi-final of a European competition. First time since, obviously, Poch took us to the Champions League final. And I think it's only like the fourth time in about 70 years or something that we've got to European semi-final. So pretty happy with that. We kind of been talking about Ange for a lot this season and talking about Spurs in general, but how are you feeling like kind of directly about that game?
Yeah, it was a good performance. It was a different performance, and I think it was one of those where a lot of fans can go, so we actually can play like this. Obviously, the narrative we've had for most of the season and a lot of Ange's tenure at Tottenham is that he can't change, he's not adaptable, etc., etc. I think Thursday night showed that he can change and that he is adaptable, because there was that's the most un-Ange and un-Spurs-like performance that we've seen in the last, what you could argue, 2 years now. So it is there. And it was a little bit kind of refreshing in some senses, because we weren't just gung-ho and just chucking everybody forward. There was a little bit of a maturity, I think, within the performance, which has been a long time coming. And yeah, fair play to the lads for getting the job done and seeing it through.
Yeah, definitely. And Dave, it's interesting Wes mentioned that, because there was a lot of, we seem to utilise Dominic Solanke a lot, in his target man play in that game. Even from kind of the first 5 minutes, I saw balls being played up high towards him and trying to kind of get him involved and get others involved, I suppose you'd say. But we even started seeing Vicario kicking it long, most of the time. We barely saw a short pass. That's really strange for Ange Postecoglou Spurs, isn't it?
Do you want my cynical view, or do you want just my, in general? So my opinion is, Ange knows he loses that game, he's sacked. It's as simple as that. He knows in that game, he loses that, we're out, he's gone.
Yeah, so I'd agree with that. Yeah.
He had no choice but to change and to adapt. I think for too long now, he's hung on to we're dealing with injuries, we're in a bad place, I'm not going to change, it's just who we are, mate, notion or whatever it is. But I think now he's backed so far into a corner that he knows you go out of that semi-final and don't reach the semi-final, we're 16th in the league, which is horrendous. We're 2 places above relegation. It's mad. If he loses that game, he's gone. So he had no choice but to adapt. It's a tough place to go, Frankfurt, as well. You can't go there and be gung-ho, because you're going to get torn to shreds. I mean, that Ekitike is. I'd love him at Tottenham. I think he's absolutely
100
class.
million though, mate. They want 100 million.
I'll
Not
pay
paying
that. I'd pay that. What we're going to pay for Tell? We're going to pay like 60 or something from when we.
Yeah, they'll be shit, mate.
A lot of money for a young kid, though, isn't it?
You're going to pay 60 million for Tell. Why not pay another 40 and get Ekitike? So you know they'd rip you apart in that sense. So I think it was more of a case of Ange just looked at it and gone, okay, if I lose this, I'm out of a job. You know, so he had to adapt. But I did say it in our chat after, it's the best performance I've seen all season from us.
Yeah,
the grit, the fight, everything.
Yeah. It was really interesting, actually. Like, I even thought, there was a lot of talk before the game. Why isn't Kulusevski playing? Why isn't Jed Spence playing and so on? But I actually thought both fullbacks had a hell of a game. I thought they played really, really well. So fair play to to the decision making on that front. I also think you play Decky in that game and you get injured after 10 minutes, 15 minutes. We go back to what we've seen all season with injuries and stuff. I think, no matter what Ange does in that game, he gets absolutely torn to shreds. And, it's difficult for me because, I'm still trying to stick by Ange Postecoglou. And, I'm still trying to, kind of make it work with him. And realistically, my theory has always been for a while now that Levy would like Poch back. He can't get him until the end of next season. So you might as well stick with what he's got. That's my personal opinion. But I think, Dave, I do agree with you, though, that if he lost that game and we had gone out, I even think if he loses the semi-final against Bodo Glimt, I think if he loses that, he's gone as well. I think if he loses the final, I don't think it's as cutthroat as that. He might go anyway, but
I think he's gone even if we win it.
Yeah,
yeah, I really do. I can't see. Fair enough. We've got a trophy. It's the European trophy, whatever it may be. It's not the Champions League, but it's second best. The league form is a massive concern. Do you really want a manager whose current form and current points tally is 37 points out of 32 games or whatever it is, taking you into the biggest competition in the world, in the Champions League? Do you really want that same manager doing that? So I personally think what will happen is if we get Champions League, that'll be the carrot that Levy dangles to Poch and says, look, we're back in the Champions League. This is yours now. Come take it.
Yeah, good point. Big up to my friend Kirk, who said, never get back with an ex. You broke up for a reason. Obviously talking about Pochettino.
But sometimes your ex can do things that new women can't.
We were talking about it, Ben, before the show. Obviously, being a Liverpool fan, you're used to winning. But in terms of Spurs this season, obviously, there's kind of no words you can really use in terms of any positives for Spurs this season. But we were talking about obviously Pochettino, and we both watched a lot of football together when Spurs had Pochettino as the manager, and so he's definitely somebody you think that we should go to again. But how do you think it works with Ange Postecoglou? And even if he does get sacked, how does Spurs work on that?
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because I think, without sounding harsh, being on Spurs channel, but I think he's been one of the worst lately. And do you know what I think his biggest problem is? I think he says things that annoys his own fan base. Do you know what I mean? I think one of the flaws that I see with him straight away is when we played Hughes, when we had the disallowed goal, he went totally against what we were saying about the refs, didn't he? And then a few weeks later, he's then kicking off about them. He came across as a really good guy at the start, and I thought he had something there. The football looked good. But you know what he slightly reminded me of is flaws with us over the years that when we've been going against City with Klopp, we didn't train certain things in training. And I feel like Hughes have got the same problem. He's just go relentless through the week, and by the end of the week when you played your games, half the players weren't even available. Do you know what I mean? You seem to have so many injuries, and what good is having on paper, you've got a good squad. There's a lot of good players there, Maddison and all that. Son, I'm a big fan of Son. You know that, Luke, anyway. But what good's having this squad if none of them are fit? It's pointless. You're 1-0 down already if that's the case. And that's what it felt like with me. Look, I could, talk all day about Klopp, but I felt like we were so intense during the week. And I think it didn't help us during the course of the season. We were amazing 3/4 of the season. And at the end, the legs started running out. Don't get me wrong, we won a lot of stuff. But
at least you're amazing 3/4 of the season, mate. We've been amazing for a game.
But this is the problem. I think your team has been. You've got to remember over the years, some of the managers you've had was slightly defensive in aspects. You know, Mourinho was that type of manager, and you've gone straight in, full on, all guns blazing, and players aren't used to that. And I think that's been your biggest problem. You straight away, bang, players' legs were going. Do you know what I mean? And you know, I don't know if it's true, but I don't know. You boys probably know that Eric Dyer interview when he was saying he's just all on, non-stop. That says a lot about him. Do you know what I mean? And he's only got himself to blame, mate, personally. And, you know, you know what I think of like Pochettino and stuff, Luke. And, you know, we spoke about it, boys, off here. He's the best I've seen at Newcastle in a long, long time. And I think the next time round you get it, Spurs will seriously do something because he's also better. I know he's had a little rough period, but he's dealt with egos in certain teams he's been in. And I think he'd be a different animal. And the problem is, how do you manage it if you get rid of Postecoglou? What do you do for the time being? Can you get Poch in, or I don't know. It's a difficult one, but look, whatever it is, you need to try and win. I think you can win the silverware this year, but the league table for you boys, I don't need to tell you that's not good enough. You know that's not good enough. You're far better than that. Do you know what I mean? I think that's the problem. I seen you boys because I went the game in the cup, you know, against you in your ground. What happens in the second leg? You didn't even get off the coach. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's been a big problem with Spurs. Good 1 week, shite the next, and that's not good enough for you. You've got far too many better players than that perform.
Just hypothetically, talking about the Europa League. If you kind of think of it as a Spurs fan, haven't won a European trophy in a long time, haven't won any trophies for 18 years.
Yeah.
Like Spurs win the Europa League. Do you still want, or would you still like to see Postecoglou sacked at that point? You know, or do you give him one more season? You know, but bearing all the injury issues we've had, and so on.
It's a tough question, that, isn't it?
Sorry, mate, I've actually hammered you today.
Let me answer.
Look, if Thomas Frank said he'd come to Spurs, I'd rather have him than Postecoglou because do you know what? It's someone that I spoke well of to a few people. Thomas Frank. I think the fans would get behind him, even if it didn't work out. I'd sooner lose with him than Postecoglou because Postecoglou, for me, would piss me off. I don't know. It's a tough one, but just get the trophy done and see how you get on.
Yeah, it's a good point. Dave, I'll let you continue on this one then, mate.
Yeah, so I mean, look, I banged the Postecoglou drum for a very long time. I was all in on him. What the biggest turning point for me was this: the couple of the years from the fans, the goals disallowed, and an interview. He's like, "Oh no, I was just trying to get him to be noisier." No, mate, own it. You did it. Own what you did. Realistically, like I said to you, you know, there's a comment there from Blaze Nurkin. Just joined, not sure if you mentioned, but if we focus solely on the Europa League, since we are mathematically safe from relegation. I mean, look, that says everything you need to say about our season and everything you need to say about Postecoglou. You know, he's doing well in the Europa League. We haven't really played anyone that great. We haven't come across any really, really good teams. You know, we've got kind of lucky with the draws we've had. I think Bodo Glimt will do a number on us in Norway. I generally think they'll beat us 2-3-0 in Norway. But I do think we'll beat them at our own ground. But you don't stick with him. There is no way in the world that you can keep a manager for the next season when you are 16th, 2 places above relegation. You know, we are averaged just over 1 point a game this season. For a club of our size, in a stadium like ours, with the players we have, the amount of money we've spent, that is not good enough. So for me, it doesn't matter whether he wins the Europa League, he's gone.
No, that's fair enough. Wes, I'll come to you. I'll ask you exactly the same question. We're in the Europa League, hypothetically. What do you do?
I would still potentially get rid because we'll end up like Man United this season if we don't. And it's as simple as that for me. You look at United, they should have hooked Ten Hag at the end of last season. They didn't. Gave him 200-300 million or however much it was to spend. Then they realised very quickly, or in October, actually this ain't working out. And then they've had to spend more money on sacking him and his backroom staff, getting Amorim in, etc., etc. So I think we do need to be very, very careful And like I say, I think regardless of what happens at the end of the season, I think Ange will probably go. That's not me saying I want him to go. I'm just saying this is what I have a feeling will probably happen.
What do you want?
Well, obviously, you want anybody in charge of your football club to be successful. Like that is the nuts and bolts of it. And you want it to work out. But for one reason or another, it just hasn't. And I'm not saying it's solely on him, because I think there's a part of it that, yes, he is to blame and he's not blameless. I think there's a part on the players, because in certain games their attitude has been absolutely abysmal, and the way they've approached games has not been good enough. You also look at, from above, has he been truly supported in terms of getting players in as well as out? No. And obviously we've had that cycle for a long, long time with different managers, and it's happening again and again and again. And I think this for fans was the final sort of straw with it, and I think that's why you're seeing a lot more protests with regards to the board and everything else. But yeah, I think regardless of what happens, I think from Tottenham's point of view, we need to move on from Postecoglou. I think from Postecoglou's point of view, he needs to move on from Tottenham, because it's like you're in a toxic relationship with someone. Like you see the good in them and you want them to do really, really well, but ultimately it's not going to work out because it's toxic. So it's best to part ways now before shit gets worse, effectively.
So they may do good things behind closed doors, but in public, it's absolute hell. Is basically what you're saying.
Literally.
It's interesting though, like that you mentioned the kind of monetary side of things as well, because Ange only signed a 3-year contract, as far as I'm aware. That will then I'm all like, theorying up to Pochettino coming back in 2026. Personally, I've just got this like vision that that's what happens. But I do think that it gets to a point with Daniel Levy where like he couldn't do it. Like, if he loses against the semi-final, regardless of it being a semi-final, it's probably the easiest semi-final out of all of them. And if we lose that, like, I don't think it will really matter. And I can also see Daniel Levy being the type of person that he will celebrate the fact that we've won a trophy and, a big sigh of relief, and then just sack the manager anyway. Because he sacked Jose Mourinho a week before the cup final, didn't he? So it wouldn't put it past him to sack Postecoglou as well. But I also think, going back to kind of what Ben said about the media and things like that, I think a lot of it gets kind of turned around, but also I think he doesn't help himself as well, because I guarantee you, if he wins the Europa League, the first thing he says at the press conference is, "I told you I always win things in my second season."
But the thing is, Luke, right? The main difference between Levy sacking Mourinho, say the week before the cup final, and potentially getting the sack, even if he wins a trophy, I think the biggest thing is we all knew what realistically we were getting in for when we got Mourinho. We knew it wasn't going to be pretty, but it was to get us over the line and get that squad over the line in terms of winning something. I know we had sort of COVID in those times, so fans weren't necessarily going to games, but you could see the reaction of the fans, and it wasn't like it is now under Ange. I think most fans are just gone with Ange, like they've completely turned. And I think so the main difference is Jose got the sack and everybody was really confused. I think if Ange goes, I don't think the reaction from the fan base is going to be the same, in the sense of like, okay, yeah, thanks, but kind of no thanks, if that makes sense. So I think that's the main difference for me, in the sense of from Jose when we were last in a cup final and should we get to the Europa League final. I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that, like I say, Ange will be like, okay, yeah, thanks. But Mourinho, it was a bit like, what? Like, because in a one-off game, if there is arguably any manager you want in world football, especially against Pep, to win, it's Jose. It's Jose Mourinho, 100%. And I think, like I say, that was where the confusion was, because you're like, well, hold on a minute. We're in a cup final for the first time in a little while. You've brought Mourinho in to get you there and get you over the line. What are you sacking him for? Whereas, like I say, with Ange, it's a bit like...
Made no sense,
because they didn't want to pay. They didn't want to. From what I hear, this is just what you hear, but they didn't want to pay the additional money they'd have to pay if he wins the cup final.
So, but then what was the... You might as well have stuck it out with Poch then for the 17 months previous for Mourinho's time. Like I say, it was just baffling. Whereas I think now with Ange, majority of fans are gone. They're like, I can't be bothered. Ange is this, Ange is that. It's just like, I think the fans at the moment are just trying to find someone to blame, and they're blaming near enough everybody. But
Be hard,
the
wouldn't
main
it, to kind of go into a Champions League campaign with a brand new manager, potentially like Ben, you mentioned earlier, potentially a Thomas Frank, someone like that, or a
He's a likable character,
Marco
isn't he?
Silva, or some, do you know what I mean? Somebody that's not like Champions League like pedigree. Do you get what I mean?
That's why you get Poch.
Yeah,
that's
but we can't get Poch to the
Why can't we?
bring Papa home.
Money gets
Bring
Poch out
Papa
there,
home.
doesn't it? You've
So
got to be
why can't we get Poch, Luke?
I just don't know how. I don't know the ins and outs of the contract. I just think it would be extremely
That's how
difficult.
you get Poch, mate. That's how you get Poch.
15 million release clause he's got in his US men's national team contract, and then if a team is in the Champions League, it goes up to 20 million to buy out.
So the way I look at it, right? How much do you get from Champions League?
Yeah,
based on group stage is usually between 10 to 15.
Okay, so
and
that's
then
pretty much Poch paid for then. He's a guy who knows the club, a guy who gets a club. And why can they not strike a deal where he does both jobs?
Even still, though, if you get him in, you just have a season bedding them in. You don't need to worry about money. Just fucking get him in and restart.
And I also think Poch is probably the only person out there where if it does get sticky, he will be afforded time, and he will be. It's almost like, as Ben mentioned there, that like first season's grace. He's probably the only manager available at Tottenham where the fans will be patient enough to give him that one season's grace to be like, okay, we understand the shit that you've walked into. Let's let you get bed in for a season, and then the next season or the following season, we'll go from there. But he's the only person out there, I think, that gets that grace, because I don't think any other manager does.
Sherwood might.
His win ratio is second to none, to be fair.
Just a quick question: did someone say the price goes up to get Poch out if he's a Champions League club?
Yeah.
Fuck it, sack hands now and throw him in.
Mate, imagine Daniel Levy
the
does
fans
that.
will be behind someone then, at least, won't they?
We've still got
that, and then Spurs lose the final.
You still got to convince Pochettino to leave as well.
That'll be easy.
Well, I mean,
he's still up on Instagram in his Spurs uniform. Do you know what I mean?
That's only when he's meeting Spurs legends, to be fair. There's a whole narrative here where people go, oh, yeah, Poch loves Spurs. I think Poch felt shafted by Spurs last time around. I mean, even Ozzy Ardiles came out and said that he met up with Poch, and Poch was waiting for the call from Levy, and he never fucking got it. That's the thing. So literally, Levy should have just sucked up his pride and done it 18 months ago, what he should have done. But instead, he was just such a idiot when it came to it. And I mean, we could have been the two finalists last time around was Pochettino and Marco Silva in the interviews, and they went with Poch. And if we do it, we'll just sack Ange at the end of the season, and then the short list is Iraola, Thomas Frank, and Marco Silva. Well, there's a good chance Iraola stays at Bournemouth, and to be honest, he's exactly the same as Postecoglou, with the high pressing football and the injury crisis. You've then got Thomas Frank, who is an interesting proposition, but whether he would want to come down, and then Marco Silva. What do you do?
Come down.
Yeah. So literally, Spurs is not an attractive prospect for anyone, I don't think, at the moment. Or Spurs might be, but not working with Daniel Levy. Daniel Levy is the cornerstone here, where if we're going to build a new hotel, we should bury that bastard in the foundations. Make him part of the club, but at least it would help us. And then that would remove the problem, because the whole board is the problem here. If we get a new manager, we're going to have to rebuild the whole thing. We're going to have to... He's already said the money's not there, so we can't rebuild a rebuild. How the fuck can we do that unless we sell half the squad? And to be honest, the market values on our squad is crap at the moment. The only sellable assets we have are Van de Ven, Romero, Gray and Bergval. That's probably the only players we've got who are worth anywhere decent.
We mentioned it, Callum, didn't we? And I said this, that if we go for any of those managers, in my opinion, all you're doing is replacing a rebuild manager with a rebuild manager. Our fans aren't patient enough, in my eyes, for another rebuild manager.
Can I have an honest? Can I give you a bit of an interesting one to ponder over? Ange Postecoglou wins the Europa League. Tottenham get Champions League. sack Ange, get Poch back. Harry Kane wins loads with Bayern. Poch gets on the phone. We got that nice little release clause. Poch and Kane are best mates. You offer Kane another Champions League go with Poch.
But while we're at it, what we
Get
do
the
is
band
just
back
turn
together.
the clock back to 2019.
Get Dele
And
Alli
then-
back as well. Why not?
Get them all.
Let the gang back together. We might as well.
Harry Redknapp.
But that's the thing. If we was to sack Ange now, I wouldn't be objected to just go and getting Harry in just for 6 games just to make something happen. He's at least he understands Spurs compared to the dross that we'd have with Ryan Mason or Matt Wells, because anything that Mason probably had from Conte's time, he's been conditioned to Ange's way of thinking now, I'd say. So literally, you'll be playing the same shit, just a different person doing it.
We had that when we sacked Conte and got Stellini in, wasn't it? It was literally like
carbon copy.
I think he's shafted himself. Sorry to interrupt, but I think he's shafted himself leaving now where he's fucking fell into the palms of Pochettino. Because I'll be honest, if I was all the other managers, they ain't gonna want to touch Spurs because they know they're fucking waiting for the Poch move, and it's a big risk to every other manager to go into Spurs because 5 losses in, say, for instance, the first 12 games, Pochettino's name screams. So everyone that is to come in after Ange, who's not Pochettino, they're going to want serious money, aren't they?
I think that's why we need Poch again, because we need to, what do they say about, getting rid of the ghosts? Getting rid of the ghosts of the past. It either comes in and it works or it doesn't work, and then we can move on from it.
Just shut the door on it, yeah.
Exactly.
I think he needs it as well for his own back. Like the amount, the protests would die down. I think there would be a lot less heat on him with Poch coming back. But let's quickly jump to some comments really quickly because there's a few people that want to mention. We won't go through all of the questions, but I'll just go through some of them. So Blazing Akin said, just joined, not sure if you've mentioned it, but do you think we solely focus on Europa League since we're mathematically safe from relegation? Personally, yes. I would rather we just win something and don't care. The league's gone in my eyes. I don't care where we finish now, personally, in the league. Colin has said, next 2 losses, tired players, and get out of jail card. Lose to Liverpool, stops Arsenal winning the title again. We'll probably blame the supporters again for that one. Sacked alongside women's manager. Where's his dad's in? So saying evening people. And we've got, I agree with Wes, move on from Ange over summer, clean the house a bit before all that. Though, pray that Ange wins the Europa League and we both move on with mutual respect as we get Champions League. David Clark has said, hi from Leicester. Their ground only holds 8,270 people. It's an artificial pitch that they have to scrape ice off in the quarterfinal. So we must put them away in the home tie. But that's typical Spurs, isn't it, to lose in that? We lost before against a team where the manager was in jail. So
yes, didn't we just lose? Didn't we just?
It's going to be like playing fucking Tamworth again, all over again. That's
young boys.
Yeah, but Wes, probably the kids that you coach probably play on better pitches than Boda Glimps.
Look, toxic headshot is spawn. Toxic headshots comment. That's the spawn, mate.
Yeah.
That's the
Ange still need to go no matter what. Winning the Europa League would give us more options on the manager front. Yeah, it's a good, interesting point.
I don't think it does.
No, we're shit. No one wants to be Spurs manager. In all honesty, where are we an appealing prospect to anyone? Because the same toxic rot from the top to the bottom still exists. If we sack Ange, probably none of the coaching staff will go. So we'll still be stuck with Rob Birch, Matt Wells, and Ryan Mason there, Sergio Raimondo, and that idiot who we got from Hibernian who got sacked as well. Yeah, Montgomery. So literally, if anything, we'd be better off appointing the under-18s manager, Stuart Lewis. At least they're having a good season, to be honest. They're actually doing well. There is no prospect that I see where we have any pool of managers that are any good wanting to come to us. We'd have to go and get someone who has fouled another big club and trying to reprove themselves. It's going to be the candidates like Lampard and Gerrard whose names will come up, who have all been named out of the Championship sort of level coming up. That's where I think we're going to have to look for at the moment.
Sorry, this is really interesting. I've just seen this. I believe Ange will walk especially if we win the Europa League. Kind of just
walking away from his money, lads.
Is that happening?
No.
Just
Do you get asked for more money?
It's either that, or do you keep
a contract?
Yeah, it's either that, or do you just let? If we're so fixated on the prospect and that Poch is going to come in 2026, then do we let Ange's contract run for another year? We don't extend that 1 year option to it, and we say goodbye at the end of next year. But then, what damage is going to be done between then and now?
You just need to act like a big club and just fuck him right off straight away and just go all out and get Pochettino. That 1 year risk could put you back so far that Poch just goes, fuck that.
Yeah, but Daniel Levy's as tight as a nun's arse. So, I mean, literally, you ain't getting fuck all out of him.
Poch's hands, because there's nowhere else he can go.
I think Ben's spot on. There is nowhere for him to go now.
Nowhere else for him to go.
Protests. At least getting Poch back will quell the protests. And if it doesn't work out, he can turn around and say, look, I did what you wanted. I tried.
That's the biggest thing that he can do, is do what the fans say and ease the pressure off him, won't it?
But then Levy tried that way back when with his first managerial appointment in Glenn Hoddle, and then absolutely shafted him way back when, for those that remember that. So he literally said to the fans, like, right, who do you want? They all said Glenn Hoddle, come in, and it was like, oh, well, this didn't go down well. And then we've obviously flip-flop between loads of different types of managers, etc. But yeah, I think there's nobody out there that would hit the ground running straight away, unite the fan base straight away in the same way that Poch would. I don't personally get the Thomas Frank and Marco Silva ones, to be honest, because I think Thomas Frank is completely the opposite in terms of playing style, in terms of what we as Spurs fans want. So he's very much get it to the wide centre backs, clip it, and we'll play in the opposition half. He's literally the Danish Sam Allardyce from that sense. Marco Silva is an interesting one, because I think every time he's gone to make that jump, he's been shafted. And I just feel like he's hit his, like, I think for Marco Silva, like, Fulham is probably as good as it gets for him, really. Like, I don't see him taking that next step up and being successful with it. And I just feel like he's found his level and he's comfortable. And I think Frank is the same at Brentford. And I think actually Thomas Frank has a lot of say and influence at Brentford as well. Obviously, Frank's been there a hell of a long time. He was initially there under Dean Smith and, even helped their recruitment policy, which, everybody knows Brentford do slightly differently in terms of the way they recruit players. They were more data-driven than probably anybody. They worked off algorithms, etc., etc. But I don't see him being a good fit for Spurs, and I don't think Marco Silva is either. The only one that I could potentially look at is Iraola, but as Callum said, he's
same as fucking Postecoglou. That's the thing.
Yeah, he's very similar to those two. So it's one of them. You might as well try and get the man that we love back, and just convince him to come home.
Yeah, fair point. Right, let's move on, because we do have a Liverpool fan on for a reason to discuss next week's game. Talk about Liverpool. But in the meantime, let's very quickly discuss our score prediction table, because we weren't on last week. So for those that missed the score predictions, I had a 2-1 Spurs win. Dave had a 3-1 Spurs win thanks to the wheel, I believe. Where's a 3-1 Spurs as well. Callum had 4-1 Spurs, and Winnie had
who should be banned. Who should be kicked.
So none of us get any points apart from Winnie, who gets maximum points for a correct score.
Again.
So this is how he sits currently. He hasn't been on 6 months, but he's got 19 points. Dave's got 17, Wes got 15, I've got 8, and Callum's got 8. So Callum all to play.
So if Winnie wins it, you have to put a wheel next to his name as opposed to a crown, because it's the wheel that's fucking won it for him, not him.
I know, but next season we'll think of a different forfeit, because it's been favourable.
How about we just don't fucking do it, because this is the second season in a row that I've done crap.
Luke's definitely been in it because he's finishing bottom. That's why. The only reason he's done it this year is because he won last year.
He's going to lose. At least he'll lose that crown, so he'll lose that smug fucking look off his face every week.
Just putting it out there, Luke. If I tie with Winnie this year, mate, then I get the crown by default.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll do that. Yeah.
When he gets the wheel next to his name, regardless of what happens.
Yeah, there'll be a smoke look on my face when Ange brings us to the Europa League. Put it that way. No, anyway, let's.
Oh, you'll be a twat on X. You will just you will just constantly spam everyone's feed, and I'll just be like, "What a knob! What a knob!"
Right, we are playing tomorrow night against Nottingham Forest. We're not going to talk too much about the game, but we will do our score predictions quickly now. So, Wes, I'll come to you first, mate. What do you reckon the score's going to be?
2-0 Forest.
0-2. Dave, what are you going
3-1 Forest.
for? Right, okay. 1-3. Callum?
3-1 Spurs.
Go on, lad.
Because I'm delusional.
Right, 3-1, you said?
Yeah.
And I will go for Wes special. I'll go for a 2-2 draw.
Desmond, we love it.
Huh?
Love it, Desmond.
Yeah, exactly. I can't go for Forest. You know me. It's just the rule I've got. And we'll do the wheel in a second. But Ben, just for fun, Spurs at home tomorrow night against Nottingham Forest. What do you reckon the score's going to be?
I think you beat them because I think their heads have gone. I'll go 2-0 Spurs.
More clean sheet. That'd be wonderful, wouldn't it? 2 clean sheets in a row. What will be interesting actually tomorrow night is whether we see Ange employ similar tactics, similar long ball, similar things that saw us to win, or whether we revert straight back to kind of default. But let's get the wheel up very quickly. We'll spin it for Winnie, and Wes is absolutely fuming. Let's spin it for the Spurs.
Best get a 5-4 or something like that.
No,
Here we go.
That was a Man United score the other night.
Another favourable score for Winnie. Here we go. Look.
We've got 1-0 Spurs.
Man alive.
Right, 1-0 Spurs.
I can't see us keeping a clean sheet.
Huh?
I can't see us keeping a clean sheet, not against Forest.
No. But anyway, let's minimise the wheel for a minute. We've got a Liverpool game to come up. But yeah, they're the scores locked in. I've got a 2-2 draw. Winnie's got 1-0 Spurs win. Dave's got a 3-1 Forest win. Wes got a 2-0 Forest win. And Callum's got a 3-1 Spurs win. Right, let's get cracking. Let's start. Actually, 1 second. Just see if there's any. I knew there'd be some score predictions in. So Jay's gone for 3-0 Forest. Wes, don't worry. Your dad's gone for 2-1 Spurs.
Yeah, he got sucked. He's been sucked right in.
Team Dave. Your mum's on Team Dave.
Yeah, your mum's gone for 3-1 Forest, though. So.
Yeah, I think my dad got sucked right in, back in after Thursday night.
Oh, I love it. David Clark has said Robin Hood has lost his arrows lately, so Spurs 2, Robin Hood 1. So anyway, let's get cracking. Let's talk about Liverpool versus Spurs. I want to come to you first, Ben. Talk a little bit about Liverpool because Arne Slot's first season, pretty damn well, could win the league against Spurs at Anfield, and Spurs fans wouldn't care. I don't think either. In terms of like last season when we did whatever we could to stop Arsenal winning the league. I think if we happen to be the team that allows Liverpool to win the league, I don't think it would be too much of an issue. But how good is it going to be as a Liverpool fan, like getting to see Liverpool win the league again? Actually, this time, with fans in the stadium.
Oh, it's a big one, mate. Yeah, do you know what? He's done really well, Arne Slot. You've got to give him a lot of credit because he hasn't had an investment, really. Do you know what I mean? So he's gone in there. I think he'd have done it the right way. But I just can't imagine what Anfield's going to be like against Spurs. I do think we win. We would come into it, but I just can't see any other option. But I think Liverpool will really perform next week against Spurs because their hands are on it. You know what I mean? You can't stop them next week, I don't believe. But on Arne Slot, like, it's totally different to the way we've played. And, it took a little bit getting used to because I feel like compared to Jürgen, like we talked about with the way Spurs, they're very front-footed, and that was us, do you know what I mean, with the Jürgen Klopp. But I think we've developed a bit more of a similar Guardiola style where it can be a little bit slower. They suss teams out a bit more, do you know what I mean? And, it can be frustrating. Like, today, we were frustrating. I was fucking effing the blinds and at one point, you know what I mean? Because I know we're so much better at times, but it works, doesn't it? it shows if you go too gung-ho at times, it doesn't benefit you. And I also think the players are human, aren't they? They're not robots. And you have struggled with that this year by players just being burnt out and the injuries creeping in. But what he's done this year is nothing short of unbelievable, Arnie Slot. And everybody with Liverpool off. But they forgot that last year they were still the team that was in front for the longest period. You know what I mean? And I think towards last year it just fell apart for us. But he's a bit of breath of fresh air, and be interested to see what happens when he gets a bit of investment, because I do think, I'm sure you boys have probably seen it with the big journalists. For yourselves, you've seen the names linked with you boys, and then for us. But I think possibly this year is the year that Liverpool do spend money. And if they do, the league got to be worried, because, you know, we may not have looked great recently, and I think it's caught up with us because the amount of big games that we've had. We've lost like 2 games in the league, and that's unbelievable. In his first season, do you know what I mean? And, you know, people are going on about Arsenal. I heard them singing songs about the Bernabeu and Champions of Europe they were singing. What fucking planet are they on? Do you know what I mean? But people are forgetting that Liverpool beat Man City and Real Madrid 2 days apart. So what he's done this year, Arnie Slot, you can't take nothing away from him. And I'm interested. I'm excited, do you know what I mean? Because for me, Luke, you know what I was like with Klopp, mate. Do you know what I mean? It was an unbelievable ride, and he started quite well for Arnie, hasn't he?
Definitely, mate. And, you know, we've been pals a long time, and, you know, I'll be no animosity towards Liverpool at all, you know, so I think I'll be happy enough to see you beat us. The other thing as well about next Sunday is that obviously next Sunday is a home game, so to win the league at home
This
is
is
brilliant. I mean, the week after or the next game you've got Chelsea away. I've just been looking, and so obviously it's not so sweet. I mean, you've still got home games towards the end of the season, but it's better like
the
that
Guard of
game.
Honours, Luke, Chelsea and Arsenal
Yeah.
and Anfield. Bring that on, mate. I can't fucking wait to see that little rascal.
Imagine they have to give you a Guard of Honour.
He's the type of fella that Arteta that won't even do anything. I'd just lock him in a cupboard, turn the lights off, and just blast "You'll Never Walk Alone" and just dement him.
Didn't Arteta try that at training once?
Oh, mate, he's just. Do you know what? It's. I don't know. You know, you're talking about. You know, all right, yeah, they're in a semi-final. You'd think they were in a final, but you know, if he falls out of the next round, he's got to be under the spotlight. Never mind just your manager. He's spent so much money. Do you know what I mean? And you know, no wonder you boys want us to win next week.
It's interesting, actually. This comment here, you know, Liverpool don't have a true number 9, but still walking to the league title. I think that's got to be the position, right? That you have to go and target in the summer.
It's been our weakness this year, because you got to remember, for the majority of the season we've played Luis Diaz there, and he's a player in the Liverpool fan base, Diaz, where I think Diaz's problem is he's consistently inconsistent, but when he's good, he's very good. Do you know what I mean? He's a difficult player to tackle, but I think we've kind of ruined his consistency by having to bring him out, because, well, Nunes, I don't even know what he is. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't know what he is. Do you know what I mean? He's just fucking space jam.
Luke loves him. Luke loves him.
Do you know what, lad? He'll leave Liverpool and he'll go and do something all right, I half think. But he's got to be careful about where he goes, because if he does what he's done at Liverpool in Saudi, that's him done then. Because where do you go from there? He'd be playing for Tranmere at that rate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I can see.
He still wouldn't hit a barn door fucking 2 yards at Tranmere. That's a fucking problem.
I know, mate. Even if it was fucking massive, do you know what I mean?
I think he'd go, like, I don't know if he would, but like an Italian club or something like that, I could see him, you know, playing decent at.
Hey, just send him to Turkey. Send him to Turkey. That works.
Mate, just send him to space. Never mind. He'd
go with Katie. He'll collected all the balls he's lost, will he?
He's missed the flight.
Problem is, if they send him to space, that'll be your transfer budget gone for a new number 9. So you're fucked.
That's fine. That's sound, lads. I'll slot in. Don't worry about that.
Who would be like, you know, kind of like, if you could pick now, like, who would you kind of go with as like your pick for that position in the summer for Liverpool?
There's 2 names that are supposed to be Liverpool's favourites. Isaac is the one, but they're not going to sell him. Personally, I think the best fit for Liverpool is Julian Alvarez. He was going to sign in the summer. He'd said yes to Liverpool, but City wouldn't allow him to go. I think if you put him down the middle for Liverpool, we go to a different animal.
That's a lot of money, though, isn't it?
But mate, we talked before about Ekitike for €100 million. The rumour is that Julian
Alvarez
wanked
the other night. He was fucking shit.
But this is it. You've got Sesko with the same issue. You've got that Gyökeres in the same price bracket. So what do you do? Do you pay a bit more and get a striker? like an Alvarez or an Isak, who put the ball in the net. Because, to be honest, right, I think you boys can afford, like you mentioned about Ekatike before, you can afford to take that risk more so than us. We cannot now. We can't, because we've spent like 90 million quid with the add-ons included for Núñez, and it's just not worth. We can't afford to do a potential to be again. Because I always say this: we're a Liverpool Football Club. We can't be just fucking around all the time. City went from Aguero to Haaland. We've gone from Firmino to Núñez. We can't go for another potential to be. And for me, I think I'd love Harry Kane, but we would never do it with the age that he is. But you get him, you score goals. But I just don't know whether now the numbers may start coming down for him if he came back to England because of the legs and stuff. So for me, I think what suits us most maybe the pressing, the tenaciousness, running with the ball. I think Julian Alvarez, if you put him in the Liverpool side, I think we'd be a dangerous animal.
Watch his space. That's all we need to say.
I don't know. Maybe get another fucking Núñez.
Let's talk, Wes, I'll come back to you. Let's talk about Liverpool Spurs next Sunday, 4:30. Still got nightmares of Carabao Cup final myself. How are you feeling kind of on the build-up to that game? I mean, we haven't played Monday yet, but...
Yeah, I think going into Sunday, listen, it's a fixture that never goes well for us. We are absolutely cursed at Anfield, like you would not believe. I'm pretty sure. I think Callum had hair the last time we won at Anfield, so that's saying something.
Go fuck yourself.
I just think it's one of them. I don't put it. It's obviously I'll watch the game, but it's like I have a feeling I know what's going to happen. We'll probably get shafted again. We won't turn up. Liverpool do us over, and it's like, yeah, thanks. But
it'll be like the Carabao Cup, exactly the same. We're going to get absolutely hammered because they're going to be so up for it to want to win that league.
Yeah.
Guys, I'll come to you. I'm going to ask everybody the same question, but I'll come to you first. Would you like Spurs to rest players for that game, knowing that we've got the first leg, I believe, the Thursday after?
No, because this is the thing that I think people are missing, right? We beat Bodo Glimt with our kids, by the way. We did. It's fact. Like the kids scored. I have faith and trust in the squad to go and get the job done at home. So yeah, I think I wouldn't go into a game of like that magnitude and chuck the kids in for that. I know there's a European semi-final and that is a big game in itself, but I think there's enough there for us to get the job done over 2 legs against Bodo Glimt. Whereas I'd probably prefer a strong side to go at Liverpool and get shafted. But I'd prefer.
You need to keep your rhythm up as well. You can't just rest them all. It does you no favours resting all the players either sometimes.
Yeah, and I think I said this a few weeks ago. Like we've got to get out of this mindset and habit now of managing player minutes because they should be fit and available for us now. I think. Especially the likes of like Romero, Van der Ven, like they should be up to speed by now. So yeah, I think they should be able to do the Sunday and if required, that Thursday
just
night
a
game.
Question on Bodo and Van der Ven. Obviously, that plastic pitch and Van der Ven's hammies is a massive worry for me. Massive worry.
I would say, but that's the second leg, isn't it? So if hopefully we're 10-0 up after the first leg, and
we'd still lose 11-10.
Are you watching, mate?
No, I know.
Go on, Cal.
The problem we've got is that, like you say, if we're managing minutes, well, I mean, the players that are going to come in are not good enough. We've seen that. Davis coming in is not good enough. Basuma coming in is not good enough. Werner has not been seen since he got put on his P45 notice at the end of the season as well. So if we're going to play games, then we need to keep all of our players getting their rhythm, playing first team. I'd rather tomorrow play in our first team squad, the same at Liverpool, the same in the first game against Bodo. I'd rather them all keep going. Because outcomes Liverpool can manage it, City can manage it. There's a tweak here, tweak there, not 6 or 7 bloody changes like you're saying for tomorrow.
Just 1 or 2
is we're 100 mile an hour, like Ben said earlier, all week. Eric Dyer, when he left Tottenham, said there's no training, there's no tactical plan. It's just gung ho football, and that's
it's just run.
Yeah, so we can't do that because the players just.
Klopp was the type that it could be the 89th minute, and we'd want 2 more goals. With Slot's more like, fuck it, just come back and just sit in and just get the game won. And I feel like Ange has got that in him. He just can't seem to just put the brakes on a notch. And mate, I don't know what. Are you got a full squad at the minute, or what's the situation?
Pretty much, yeah.
It's only Sonny that's out and Drago.
I would say if he starts fucking around and still having bad performances with a strong squad, you have no choice but to get rid of him. But if it starts changing, then maybe there is something there if you wanted to keep him on to like the Jan, because there's no excuses now. If you've got a fit squad, you should be beating a lot of the team, apart from next weekend, of course. But I mean, after that, you do what you want, just keep winning. But you'll find out how much he has changed with the full squad.
We had a full squad at Wolves and we were still wank. So, I mean, literally, and we lost that 4-2.
We only lost that because of winning voodoo on the wheel, mate.
No, yeah, crap again. I think the last time we beat Wolves is about 2022, ain't it? Something like that.
Yeah,
like a real bogey team for us.
But just going back to Postecoglou, Luke, just before you move on, it was ironically Son's best game of the season. When we played him in the league phase, it was Son's best game of the season. And I think that says everything about him as a player and the decline that has happened this season with him, because he's not it anymore. Like, his legs have gone. He's just not it. He doesn't beat anybody anymore. Has
it been that bad for Son this year?
Oh,
he's been awful. He's been awful.
It's sad to see that, because he's been for me, he was the perfect player after Bobby Firmino. For me,
when you think
Klopp's perfect player.
When you think that so many people last year compared Son and Salah has gone to that next level this year. Son has dropped down so much. I mean, literally, there have been opportunities where he has looked like Darwin Núñez. That's how bad it is.
Takes some doing that.
Yeah.
Because he just looks nervous. He can't take his man on anymore, and he sulks and he runs endlessly, but with nothing at all. It's such a player, disgrace.
He's been one of the best.
Yeah, it's almost like as well when he's through on goal, like in a 1v1 situation, you would usually back Sonny to finish. Like now, it's like
he's been told not to shoot by the look of it.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
It's like he just doesn't look confident, like as a player, like at all.
I was so excited at the start of the season when we had Solanke coming in, because I thought this could be a great partnership between Son and Solanke, and it just, apart from a couple of games, it's just never materialised, which was such a great shame.
Yeah. Right, Ben, talk to us then about your thoughts from the Liverpool side about Spurs next Sunday. Obviously, not just kind of winning the league, but also just your thoughts as a fan. Kind of, moving away from the fact that you know us and and Spurs, and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think he'll go easy on it. I don't think the manager will do that. He doesn't strike me as that type from your point of view. He still put 80% of your main players out there, maybe a little few. I think he'll frustrate us. I can see it being one of them games next weekend where it will be up and down, up and down. If we go and batter it, I'd be quite surprised, because the way it's been over the last couple of games, it's been quite nervy. Because when you're at the final finish line, it gets a bit nervy, doesn't it? When everything counts. And today
you don't want to let it slip now, do you?
Yeah. Fucking hell, imagine that. You won't ever see me again. But look, at the end of the day, from your point of view, he's got to show a performance. Because if he gets battered and then it starts going wrong again, I wouldn't even trust him in the fucking Europa League if that's the case. It becomes nervousness for you guys. So, from your point of view, he's got to show something. Like you've just said, if your squad's getting back together again, or if it's nearly there, he should be taking that game seriously. I know it would piss fans off if imagine you nicked a point or something at Anfield and Arsenal think they're getting something back in it. But for him, who's had a lot of shit, he's got to perform, Annie, regardless. He can't afford to be just letting Liverpool wipe the floor. Because if he does, we will. Do you know what I mean? Because like you said before, Dave, our tails are going to be up. We know what that final whistle goes and Liverpool wins, going to be fucking party time. Do you know what I mean? Ange may not even get out the fucking exit door. Do you know what I mean? It might be locked in. So we're all outside, barricading you all in. But I mean, yeah, look, he needs to show something to the Spurs fans if he wants to carry on. I don't think he's the type that would walk. I think, like he's mentioned before, so I think someone in the comments said, would he walk after if you won a final. I think he's got too much of an ego to do that sort of shit, and he's not a quitter. I don't think he will. He seems to battle you guys, and he won't have it that the fans are shouting stuff at him. In the interview I seen him, he was like, "What are you on about?" when he was getting slaughtered. So he's got to show something to you boys, because look, I see before you all look really deflated. So he's got to start turning it up, because you've got silverware on the line. So I expect a cagey game, but do favour us to win. But yeah, he's got to show something to you lads.
It's interesting actually, because I think this is like a key point in Postecoglou's reign, and really like could, and maybe I'm being a bit too positive, right? But this could be a changing point in his Spurs career. If he was to adapt similar tactics and realise that actually changing how it works and actually adapting to the opponent can benefit him, and that could happen long term, then that could have a long term positive effect. Like, we go and get something at Liverpool and then go and beat Bodo Glimt, do you know what I mean, into Europa League final. Like, that could spur on the end of the season and could get fans on board. If he goes out in the next 2 games, plays the way he has played, I just think that will just backfire on him. Do you know what I mean? Long term, like, this is a turning point now where he's seen that actually adapting his tactics could be beneficial to Spurs long term. If he goes back to what he had and he just says, "Okay, I did that for that one game just to kind of get through," like, it's a bit naive on his part.
He's got, like Ben said, he's got too much of an ego to change.
So what? But why did he change?
Because we have won the league anyway. Let's face it, we have.
I told you why he changed. He changed because he was going to be sacked if he loses that game. That's the only reason he changed. He's had multiple opportunities this season to change and to adapt, where he has had to adapt and he hasn't.
Yeah, it's going to have to be that if he is going to go, he's not going to walk. He's never walked from any other job that I can see in his managerial career. He's always been sacked or been poached by other teams. Simple as that.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, let's go around the houses then. Let's get our score predictions in for the Liverpool game. I'm going to leave you till the end then. But
yeah, I want to hear what you say first.
Let's go Dave first. Dave, what are you going for? 4-0 Liverpool?
5-0 Liverpool.
5-0. I wasn't far off, wasn't I?
He's like Dave, lads.
Right, Wesley, what are you going for?
4-0 Liverpool.
It started good for us. I love this. Great channel.
Right, Callum, what are you going for?
3-2 Liverpool.
3-2 Liverpool.
We're going to get 2 goals at Anfield.
We did before.
Yeah.
You do all right at Anfield at times with getting a few goals, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, Liverpool do have a problem defending against us a lot of the time. I don't understand where it is. It seems to... But most of your centre-backs are... That's the only weakness, I think, is in your team. It's sometimes your centre-backs, because they just don't have any cohesion together. They change so many times.
This year they've been a bit better sticking with the similar back four, but I know what you mean. Like, sometimes Konate's good and then he can wind me up where I want to just punch him. But you know what I think it is? I think it's you guys draw us into a gunfight with this, because that's the attack, and attack just causes carnage. It's always a good watch. If you're a neutral, it's probably a great game to watch all the time, isn't it?
Right. Do you know what? I'm just going to really annoy Ben. I'm just going to say 2-0 Spurs.
I knew
look at that shit-eating grin on your face. You fucking enjoyed that when you said that.
Yeah. Fuck it, why not?
Sorry, just quickly, Luke. If you were sitting top of the score predictor, mate, you ain't going 2-0 Spurs at all. Let's be honest.
No, but I've always been this way, and I'm never going to pick Spurs to lose because I can't do it. So,
I ain't bottom of the score predictor, Luke.
Yeah.
Wes, is that your mum that's just gone 4-3 Spurs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus, what is she smoking? I mean, your dad's on it, now your mum's on it.
I don't know, but they ain't giving me any. I wish they'd share it about a bit. Christ.
What's funny, though, is she thinks we're going to lose tomorrow night, 3-1 at home, and then thinks we're going to go 4-3 at Anfield.
Yeah, that's wild behaviour, I have to say. That is wild.
It's that man at Tottenham. I got offered a ticket for tomorrow, and I was like, nah, I'm not spending money to go up for that. No way.
To be fair, I got my Frankfurt tickets for free, so I weren't complaining. It weren't too bad.
That's because you were on dad duties.
Oh, fuck off.
Ben, what are you going for?
3-0 Liverpool.
3-0 Liverpool.
Because it's
Interesting.
it's not just about it's not a normal game, this one, mate. So I think it'll be a bit frustrating at times. Because if you can hold on to get to at least half time and it's 0-0, you'll make it a bit cagey in there. Because it's normal, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Realistically, probably going to beat us, but got to have some positivity in life. Let's just spin the wheel one last time for for Winnie. Sorry, not Wes. He would love to have the wheel.
He's getting a 4-1 Liverpool, and that's what the score will be.
Literally. It needs about a 25-6 Tottenham win or something with us, Winnie.
Fuck off. I thought it was 5-5.
Oh, fuck off. Look, I told you.
There we go, look.
Fucking hell.
Oh, he's got 4 Spurs, actually.
4-1 Spurs.
Yeah, about time.
The last time we won 4-1 was at Wembley, wasn't it? When we ruined Dejan Lovren's career.
Yeah.
Right, 4-1 Spurs for Winnie. Right, that kind of fills us up perfectly for time. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. There's been loads of you. So if you are still watching, before we go through kind of how you can find everybody, please make sure you're clicking the like button on the video. Make sure you're also subscribing if you haven't done so already, and follow us on any social media platform. Just search for Park Lane Podcast and you'll find us. Ben, I'll let you go first as the guest on the show this week. Thanks so much for coming back on, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. We'll have to meet up soon for sure. But tell everyone how they can find you, because you are very active on Twitter.
Mate, I'm just causing carnage with Arsenal. That's what I'm there to do these days. But yeah, that's with Twitter anyway. But look, lads, thanks very much for letting me on. It's been good to get back and see a few of your faces. Good luck with your quest for the trophy. And look, fuck Arsenal.
Amazing. You can find Ben if you want, Ben B LFC on Twitter. I'm sure he'd love a little follow. But Wes, thanks again, mate. It's the longest outro that we're going to have, so I'll let you go next. How can everyone find you?
Yeah, Twitter is at Wes010, the unofficial Miche Dembele fan account. Usually tweeting things about the best Belgian to ever grace Premier League shores. And it was Dele Alli's greatest of all time, as well as he posted on Twitter today. So there you go. Instagram's at Wes032, usually at Spurs games, but I think towards the back end of the season there might be some that I missed due to work commitments, etc. But I do try and get down to the lane as much as possible. And then for any football coaching stuff that I do, it's Kickoff Football Academy or at Co4MK across your socials.
Amazing. And if you've got kids in Milton Keynes, make sure you sending them to Wes, best coach in the whole.
Mine aren't in Milton Keynes. That's sat next to me, so I might just send them there now. Anyway, she's driving me nuts.
Dave, talking about you, how can everyone find you?
At Park Lane Pod Dave or at Park Lane Pod on Twitter. Don't forget to like and follow and share this video. Your usual stuff, but I'll be a lot more active going into the new season as well once I've got over my negative hump. Also, Ben, it's really good to see you again, mate. Thank you for coming back.
Lads.
It's been a very long time, so make sure you give Ben a follow as well.
Amazing. And last but not least, Callum, how can everyone find you? I hear you're back on Harry Scarf's channel.
Yeah, I'm stuck with that stuff again. I'm on the Premier League show on a Wednesday, so I'll be doing that, and I'm covering a load of his stuff for the end of the season as well. So you can find me over there. But no, just Callum Stubbs 97 on X, and I know some people have been giving me a lot of shit in my DMs as well about my opinions on X. I don't give a fuck. I really don't give a fuck, mate. Simple as that. So if you want a row, go find Dave. He'll be fine.
I'm always up for a beef, but no one ever seems to want to come at me, so I'm just stuck. I always pick the easy targets like Callum.
I'm not easy, I just can't be asked.
You can follow me, Luke _ Park Lane, but more important to me would be for everyone to go and follow everybody else on this channel, but also like and subscribe to us again on all your socials. We try and post out clips every day. We didn't do much last week because we didn't have a show, but next week we'll have clips all week on all your socials. So go give them a like as well. Thanks everybody so much for tuning in. Here's the Spurs, hopefully winning a trophy, and who knows what might happen next week at Anfield. But as we always do next time, let's give another massive come on, you Spurs.
Come on, Spurs.